Okay, so we hope you enjoyed our little Macbeth characterisation on the website. Now, what we'd like to do is take you back to being a bit serious and looking at a 2018 AQA past paper, so quite recent, where it gives us a question about Macbeth himself. So you've got an extract, and then you've got the question, which is explore how Shakespeare presents the attitudes of Macbeth and Banquo towards the supernatural.
And this is a really interesting question because, again, you've got your theme, the supernatural, which is a great one to get your teeth into. Also, you've got two characters, and sometimes the exam board like to spice things up by getting you to look at two characters or their relationship or their differing views.
It'll be
on a
about
subject.
contrasting them, really, won't it?
Yeah, and we do have that in this question.
So what we need to do is we need to first of all look again at the extract. The extract is our big starting point because it gives us Banquo's language, Macbeth's language. And so first of all we want to analyse what it is that Banquo is actually saying at this point in the play.
The next thing we need to think about is, are there any stage directions? Don't ignore. Shakespeare didn't use very many stage directions, so when he does, take note of them. In this case, Macbeth's discussion or Macbeth's language is an aside. So he is saying it either secretly or as an aside. The audience will know that it's more about his thoughts almost that are spoken aloud.
This in itself is going to be important. Why? Well, because actually it indicates quite a lot about the character of Macbeth and the character of Banquo. Banquo is happy to talk out loud to Macbeth about his thoughts about the witches. He is saying, yes, it's strange, but perhaps we shouldn't trust them. Macbeth, as an aside, is obviously therefore not willing to talk out loud his deepest, darkest thoughts to Banquo, his dearest friend. Why is that? Because perhaps his thoughts are untoward.
Okay, quick tip. As you get into the exam, read your question, highlight your keywords. Once you've got your keywords, you then read your extract. Once you've read through your extract, you should be highlighting quotes that you could use. Now, they need to be quotes that are linked to character and linked to theme. The next thing you need to do is choose at least one, maybe two quotes that have some kind of language device, because we want to discuss language as part of our AO2. Also, be thinking in your head, which of my quotes can I link quite easily to context?
So now we're going to show you exactly how to pull the question apart and how to present point, evidence and explanation. So let's start first of all with, as Miss Hendicott said, you wanted to have highlighted some of the language from the extract itself. Now we have taken Banquo's lines, and oftentimes to win us to our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truths. We've then gone Macbeth, cannot be ill, cannot be good. Now, if we're going to look at a mid-level answer PEE, you might say something along the lines of, in this extract, Banquo thinks the witches are a bit strange and might be dangerous. Harm. However, Macbeth can't really decide if what they say is good or ill.
So, if we're looking at this mid-level answer, the problem is that it lacks development. We've got these tagged on quotes, and we haven't said that this is something that Shakespeare's crafted. We haven't said Shakespeare presents, Shakespeare shows. The characters just seem like people.
Or, if anything, what are they actually going to be developing in their character as they move forward? What it is that what they've said just now is telling us about what might happen.
Exactly. The other key thing is they don't link it to the supernatural, even though there's so much they could have said. So what we're going to do now is walk you through a better PEE example.
So, point. Shakespeare presents both Banquo's and Macbeth's views on the witch's prophecy. Interestingly, Banquo's lines are spoken directly to Macbeth, whereas Macbeth's lines are set as an aside. Banquo appears to be presented as the voice of the audience, warning of the potential harm of following a supernatural prophecy presented by witches. Following King James's beliefs in witchcraft and a largely Christian audience, Banquo's words would act as a warning for the temptation by the demonic.
So what we've done there is we've included some context. We've included King James's obsession with witchcraft. We haven't gone on and on about the witchcraft, and we haven't gone on about King James, but we've mentioned it. And just a line, 2 sentences is enough to tag on some interesting context, so long as it links to the supernatural. There's no point in putting context in here that doesn't link to the character or the theme.
So, continuing on our PEE, so in contrast, Macbeth seems to really contemplate the witch's prophecy and calls what they have said 2 truths. He never seems to doubt what they say, and in fact, their words ignite his tragic flaw, ambition.
Yes, and if you wanted to add something to that, you might want to pull out that word truth and the ideas of truth a little bit more if you wanted to carry on talking about the language. But we've developed it in a different way.
We've looked at what the question has actually said. Keep going back to the question and
Very
make
important.
sure. I mean, when I was doing my exams and even when I'm teaching, after every paragraph, I go back to the question to make sure I am on the right track.
It's a very good piece of advice.
And you can get so carried away by looking at what the extract is saying and who Banquo is and whatnot that you can forget that actually they've mentioned the themes. They want you to talk about the themes. So, the themes of fate and the supernatural are therefore clearly linked, and Macbeth's language of opposites, cannot be ill, cannot be good, echoes the spell-like chanting of the witches, inferring that he has already allowed himself to believe what they are suggesting. It also foreshadows the coming disorder in the kingdom. Macbeth's behaviour and language suggest that he's aware of something unnatural, against the use of nature, and this is because the horrible imaginings he has of regicide.
Yeah, I think that brings in a lot of information. Actually, you've got regicide in there, you've got the supernatural, and to be honest, the supernatural is a great question because you can go on and on about it. Once you've analysed the extract in detail, you then need to take it forward to other parts of the play, either earlier or later than this extract. Now, this particular scene comes quite early on, so we're probably going to look at examples from later on. So what we might do is look at other examples from different parts of the play. For example, the dagger scene, the Ghost of Banquo, even Lady Macbeth sleepwalking.
And when she sees the invisible blood on her hands.
The apparitions.
Absolutely.
So we've got lots and lots of other scenes.
There's lots to choose from.
Exactly. The thing is, you don't have that much time in the exam. So what you want to do is choose maybe 2 key scenes of the supernatural from another part of the play and analyse a little bit of that, bring in some quotes. The dagger scene, it's easy to remember a quote from that. Is this a dagger I see before me? All right.
Or the gory locks from when he sees Banquo's ghost.
Exactly. So nice things to remember, easy things to remember. But what you also need to think about is how it relates to the supernatural and the impact that has on the audience, because this is a play
As
for
we said
an audience.
before, in our
Staging
context,
is important. If you've enjoyed this video, we have 2 great sheets on Macbeth
already prepared.
and Lady Macbeth.
Just go to our Sassy Tutors shop, which we will have attached to the link on YouTube, and you can download it for a mere 50 pence.
We'll see you soon.